Thanks so much for taking time out of your day to join us for this exciting webinar. My name is Tessa Davies, and I'm Commerce7's Growth and Event Marketing Manager. Just so you're aware, today's webinar is being recorded, and it's going to be sent to everyone following the event by email. We encourage you guys to ask questions along the way in the Q&A box to your right, as there will be time to answer some after the presentation. Commerce7 is not only lucky enough to have Tastry as a brand new integration with our D2C winery software, but we're also lucky enough to be joined today by Jeff Campbell, Jonathan Fisher, and Erica Finnemore of Tastry. Wave hello. They're going to educate all of us today. They're going to teach us how to increase our sales and customer loyalty very quickly with a new kind of personalization. And Jeff, I think you're up first, so take it away. You're on mute, so if you want to unmute. There you go.
Rookie mistake, right? All right. So let's move forward, Erica, to the first slide we've got. So listen, everybody, it's great to be speaking with you here today. Let's really dive in. Let's start with the problem or the challenge here. So we all know that your wine is your brand. It's the story behind it, the winemaking team, your vineyards, and ultimately that finished product that you're putting into the bottle. And you're all making amazing wines. And for many wineries, the ongoing challenge is with each vintage to find, grow, and retain customers for those wines. You're trying to turn those visitors into buyers, turn those buyers into members, and to grow their lifetime value. And of course, along the way, you're really trying to mitigate buyer churn. So let's talk about today's consumer, though. The traditional route to customer acquisition that many wineries describe to us starts out in the tasting room, which is it's that opportunity to create incredibly personalized and meaningful experiences for the visitor. And of course, hopefully they make that initial purchase, wherein you're getting their contact information and you're off to the races with the goal of staying connected and maximizing their future investment in your wines. And for everyone, this last couple of years, there's been a lot of pressure on that kind of model. And really, to a degree, it seems like we're probably in a new normal. But in any event, there's this increasing shift to online interactions and purchase behavior. And the vast majority of wineries that we are talking with really want to make a more aggressive shift to e-commerce to meet that opportunity. And also, of course, to improve, engagement with the younger age demographics. And that makes a ton of sense because the younger generations are not only so technology savvy, they're growing their appreciation for wine in a world where everything is so personalized. And you don't have to think any farther than TikTok or Instagram or our shopping experiences that we have today on Amazon. And so personalized experience is really becoming an expectation. And it seems fair to say that, if you think about it as a race, the direct-to-consumer race is probably going to be won by those that can effectively tap into the individual preferences of their potential customers and really personalize the experience at the point of purchase intent. And the older generations, of which I'm a part, are more savvy, but the younger buyers, they're already there. And again, many of the wineries that we're talking with tell us their future relies on bridging out of aging demographics and appealing to younger consumers. So what's the solution? How do wineries go about achieving greater personalization online? And the good news is that for all of you here, if you're running on, and I think you all are running on Commerce7 today, you've already taken a really important step in modernizing your e-commerce presence. But now you're looking for a way to connect on a very personal level with each individual that visits your website, similar to a tasting room, where you can help visitors by showcasing the wines that best connect with their individual likes and dislikes. Because what you're trying to avoid, of course, is lower conversions and abandoned carts primarily due to purchase reluctance, or that lack of purchase confidence because, am I going to like this wine that I'm considering to buy? And ultimately, you're really trying to avoid an unfavorable experience with your wine, which drives churn. And so the bottom line is that each visit to the website is an opportunity to sell. So let's imagine turning each of those visits into a virtual tasting room, which might seem crazy, but keep listening, because that's what Tastry Uncorked does. In the tasting room, if you think about it, visitors are trying your wines and their brains are activating in real time, trying to make determinations as to which wines with their different flavor and aroma profiles meet their unique palate needs. What are they liking about that wine? And Tastry Uncorked introduces an experience to your website that achieves the same results in a very clever way that literally in just seconds determines an individual's palate preferences and can make immediate recommendations as to which of the wines that best match what they like. And not only that, those preferences can be harnessed not only on your website, but across your different customer touchpoints. So how does Tastry Uncorked work its magic? Jonathan's about to talk about that in detail, but in short, and here's the secret, Tastry Uncorked is applying proven sensory science to profile the unique flavor and aroma expressions of your wines, and then leveraging really this incredible computational power of artificial intelligence, a lot like our brains and how they fire, to make accurate connections to an individual's palate preferences. And we do it in real time. And it happens right on your website. So we're going to dig into that user experience shortly. But what makes Tastry Uncorked unique from other recommenders? Tastry is set apart from other approaches to making recommendations, such as the following. These are some of the most common approaches, and you may be using some of these today. But they all have one thing in common, and that's that they're all reliant on the palates of others. So think about that. Wine Spectator, for instance, may think that your wine deserves an 88-point score, while perhaps 15% of your possible buyers visiting your website may actually think it's a 95. So our question to you is, why leave the buyer reliant on the viewpoints of others? And to be clear, obviously, that content has its place for sure. It just doesn't have anything to do with personalization, which is what the consumer is increasingly looking for. So how do we move forward? Well, it starts with a deep understanding of the chemistry of your wines. Jonathan?
Thanks, Jeff. So first of all, did you know there are millions of data points in a single bottle of wine that all come together to actually impact the flavor profile of the wine? Well, here at Tastry, we use all of those data points to find correlations between the wine's chemistry and the individual shopper's taste preferences. This results in Tastry's wine recommendations being upwards of 93% accurate. So let's get into how Uncorked actually works. With our Commerce7 integration, your customers can use their pre-existing Commerce7 account to easily sign up. Your customer then takes our palate survey of about 20 questions, as you can see on the left side of the screen there. These questions may seem random, but they are specifically selected so that our AI can gather as much information as possible. This allows Tastry AI to fully understand your customer's palate better than any human could. Once the survey is complete, Uncorked then presents your palate personalized matches from your inventory. This increases buyer confidence and ensures they'll be satisfied with their purchase. Once they actually purchase the wine and taste it, they can return to Uncorked and submit a rating and a review. This feedback is immediately considered by our AI to deepen the level of accuracy and really know your customers on an even more personal level. Jeff will get into how that really impacts our accuracy. As you can see right here by this chart, this just goes to show how incredibly accurate we are. We can predict within a 1/10 of a point of accuracy whether a person will like the wine or not. If you'd like to learn more about our accuracy and more charts like this, we can discuss it on a one-on-one call. And now I'll toss it back to Jeff.
Thanks, Jonathan. So how does that accuracy translate in the real world? Well, first off, accuracy obviously matters a lot. And here's a really kind of interesting perspective on that. Shoppers that randomly pick a wine in the wine aisle, believe it or not, have a less than 50% chance of picking a winner that they're actually going to come back for. And when a sommelier gets involved, you might be able to move that up to around 60%. And of course, wouldn't it be nice if we all just had a pocket sommelier that could help us make our wine selections wherever we are? This is something that might blow you away. Tastry Uncorked starts at 80% or better when a visitor takes that palate quiz that Jonathan was just showing briefly. And as soon as they rate a wine, that accuracy moves to 93%, incredibly. Next slide. So that accuracy and personalization is really important because that's what drives your visitor and your customer trust and their confidence and that ongoing excitement in your brand into the future. And each new vintage and each new release presents an opportunity to make a lasting connection with your visitor and your members. So while a visitor only ever need to take that quiz once, they have an ongoing opportunity to provide ratings and feedback and strengthen their connections to your brand with that anticipation that they're strengthening alignment with their palates and your wine offerings. So we touched briefly on this previously, but because Uncorked is web-based and it's responsibly designed, you can actually make this experience available not just on your website, but for instance, you can place it on an iPad in your tasting room or virtually anywhere that you could place a QR code, which can launch the user directly into your winery's Uncorked experience. For example, at events or even in your marketing communications. And with the insights that we provide you on the back end, you're actually able to extend that personalization we've been describing into your email and your, even if you're doing them, SMS communications. So what are the results that we've seen so far? Well, we've already been measuring some really impressive results, and honestly, we can't wait to publish more. But these include significant increases in purchase satisfaction, decreases in churn, as well as, and maybe most importantly, increases in core wine sales. Jonathan?
And now we'll go over what the setup process actually looks like. So first of all, the website setup. It's really simple and easy. You just add a couple lines of code to your website and you'll be up and running in less than 30 minutes. We do all the work. The second step is the wine chemistry analysis. As we've mentioned, every wine that we recommend has been analyzed by our lab. So we'll need you to send your wine samples and they'll be available in 48 to 72 hours in your Uncorked account. Right here, this is a snapshot of our Tastry Insights dashboard. You will gain access to this once we have your samples analyzed. And this is where you'll see your wine's market performance and flavor insights for every single wine you have analyzed. In this dashboard, you'll see a ton of different metrics. We have 33 metrics in 3 different categories, including flavor chemistry, analytical chemistry, and oak components. And we also have 39 more metrics coming soon that include fruit and esters, higher alcohols, and much more. So that will bring it to a total of 72 total metrics for analysis. And Jeff, can you summarize this?
Yeah. So as we've covered a lot very, very quickly as we wrap up and prepare for Q&A, and I think we're going to take you through an actual live demo of Tastry Uncorked. I just wanted to share that Tastry's mission is 100% about making better individual connections between your wines and the consumers that you're out there trying to acquire to help sell more of your product. And that's really what we live and breathe every day. And coming out of this presentation, we're really looking forward to rich one-on-one conversations with each of you to really share how we can help you increase that payoff with your direct consumer and e-commerce efforts. Here's our contact information. You can reach out directly to me via email, or frankly, scan this QR code. It takes you right to my calendar where you can set up a one-on-one conversation. And we'll talk about Tastry Uncorked and even some of our other services if you're interested. And for those that are developers and designers attending, Rod Russell on our team, he runs our developer program, and he'd love to speak with you. And Eric, I think that's, we're nice and efficient here in terms of communicating this overall story, and we hope you've enjoyed it and learned a lot. I think we're ready for Q&A and to do that live demo.
Great. All right. Let's take us over to the live demo. Okay. Can everyone see the palate quiz? Or Tessa, can you see the palate quiz?
I can.
Okay, great. So Tessa, I'm going to ask you a few questions about your likes and dislikes.
Okay, I'm ready.
How do you feel about the smell of cigar tobacco?
Not great.
Not great. Okay, so that's going to be a frowny face. What about green bell pepper?
I like green bell pepper.
So yes? Okay.
Yep.
Black pepper?
Neutral.
Neutral, okay. What about the smell of earth?
No.
Nope, okay. What about tomatoes?
Yes.
Goat cheese?
Yes.
Black olives?
Yes.
And the smell of mushrooms?
The smell, neutral. I like the taste, but not the smell.
Okay, so that's a no?
Neutral.
Neutral, okay.
Yeah.
What about dried plums or raisins?
Yes.
What about the taste of black unsweetened coffee?
No.
How do you feel about almonds?
I'm gonna say no.
How do you feel about root beer?
Yes.
And then how do you feel about the taste of sweetened coffee?
Yes.
How do you feel about mint?
Yes, especially in a mojito.
How do you feel about bananas?
Good. Yeah.
What about seafood?
Yes.
How do you feel about vinegar?
I'm gonna say not great about vinegar. No.
Oh, no, frowny face?
Yeah, frowny face.
Okay. How do you feel about mustard?
Frowny face.
How do you feel about sour candy?
Yes. You see a pattern here?
We'll see. And so right now the AI is actually working to generate some really powerful recommendations for you. It's calculating all of Tessa's answers and coming out with a selection of wines from the assortment that's here, which is actually just a sample assortment. Jeff, you wanted to say a little bit about the sample assortment that we're showing here
Oh,
today.
sure, absolutely. And one thing that I would mention for all of you that just watched Tessa go through and answer those questions, just to talk a little bit more about what's happening behind the scenes, is that each of those sensory products that Tessa was reacting to, they have compounds and groups of compounds in them that have strong associations with the same kinds of compounds that are in wine. And so With each of those questions that Tessa is answering, our AI is evaluating which of the compounds that are common across those sensory products that she likes and dislikes in various ratios, and then can make those incredibly strong correlations to the wines. And so what we're looking at here is, this is a demo database of wines that we have. So you can see that we've got a variety of different wines. And you'll notice that there's quite a few wines in this particular demo. I think we have over 3,000 here. Obviously, you deploying Tastry Uncorked would probably not have that many. But we're showing a percentage match to Tessa's palate. And then what we've done here, just out of the box, we organize the different types of wines stylistically: reds, whites, rosés, sparklings, and desserts into different categories. And when we ask that set of questions, we've asked enough questions to be able to have a very accurate understanding of Tessa's palate across all of those different wine types. And we actually have a few different ways of displaying the wines and how they would be recommended to a particular consumer or client of yours. What you're seeing here is you're seeing match rates. So you can see 97% match on these rosés. That's a 95 or 97% match directly to Tessa's palate, which might be very different than how those wines would match against mine or Erica's or Zach's or Jonathan's. Do you want to show very briefly, Erica? You click on the rate button.
Sure.
So one of the things that Jonathan was talking about earlier is that consumers have the ability to come in and rate the wines after they have tried them. And they also can leave a text-based review on that wine as well that gets fed back to you, so that you can actually harvest and review that feedback for your wines. But as soon as a consumer or a member rates a particular wine, our AI immediately, as we were mentioning before, actually wind up pulling them out of our core recommender and building their own little recommender that's just learning about that individual. So if Tessa were to come in here and rate this wine a great or a good or an average, our AI is suddenly going to recalculate dynamically all the wines that are available to recommend Tessa based on that feedback. And that's how our recommender learns over time and gets even more accurate for each individual that's part of your shopping base or your member base.
Great. Is it time for Q&A now?
Yes, and I'll kick off with the first question, then we can move to Kelsey. I see a question from Kelsey Kramer there. So every time I visit the website again, it's going to remember my selection and my matches. I'm not going to have to do the quiz every time, and I can just hit rate because it's going to remember my quiz results.
That's exactly right.
On top of that, with the Commerce7 integration, it'll actually use your Commerce7 account to log you in. And so you'll stay logged in. You'll automatically see your recommendations next time.
Great. And then Kelsey had a question. Are there currently metrics that include data analytics for structure components like body, mouthfeel, aromatic intensity, acidity, and tannin?
Yeah, absolutely, Kelsey. We do provide those. Jonathan very briefly mentioned on one of his slides that we provide 33 different metrics today, and they're broken up into different groups, and we can talk you through them. But yeah, for every time we analyze a bottle of wine, we automatically produce all of those different metrics about the wine, including a set of AI generated flavor and aroma measurements that would include things like body and mouthfeel and others. Yep. And actually, I don't know did you drill into, I might not have been watching, Erica, but did you drill into one of these wines that's on the screen?
Yes, I did, but I can go into another one.
So here's an example of this particular wine that you clicked on, where we can see sweetness, astringency, mouthfeel, crispness, and boldness. And these are all attributes for this particular wine that the AI generates in the context of the tens of thousands of wines that we have tested over the years. And so you have the consumer has access to see these attributes as we're showing here right now, but you also have access to them in your dashboard as well.
Excellent. And Lisa says, are you asking the customer to redo the questions over time to see if the palate has changed at all? So is there a way for folks to redo the quiz, or is rating each wine over time going to sort of help with that?
Yeah, great question. So you only ever need to take the palate quiz once, but you can go in, any individual can go back in, and if they were thinking about one of those quiz questions and felt like they wanted to answer it differently, or suddenly they've grown a strong like for seafood, let's say, they always have access to go back in, and in fact, you can show that, Erica, if you hit the caret to return back to the Discover screen, and then we affectionately call it the hamburger menu in the upper left, which allows you to change the palate survey. One of the other things that we do that we didn't show as part of the demo here is you can also change your experience level. So as drinkers grow their appreciation for wines over time, they can, they might start off self-selecting as a beginner or an intermediate or an experienced drinker. And our AI uses that as a starting point to consider the types of wines that may best appeal to the individual when those recommendations show up after the quiz. So these are other elements that the consumer can change as they move along on their wine journey.
Excellent. And Kelsey says, are the food pairings automatically generated? Or would that be a screen?
Yeah, another great question. So if you go back, Erica, and drill in on a particular wine here, you'll see that we have a set of, these are auto-generated food pairings. Really interestingly, we actually have an advanced food pairing engine that's built in. So by default, just out of the box, we have these static food pairings that are provided with your wines, and we have some interested matrixing that goes on to figure out exactly which wines or which food pairings to pair with your particular wine. But if you have, let's say you're selling prepared meals in the tasting room, or you happen to be making meals, you have a restaurant, you have particular recipes that you pair with your wines or make available to the visitors to your website, we can also draw dynamic connections between the ingredients in your recipes and connect both the wine and food pairing to the specific palate likes and dislikes of the shopper. So we can make these really interesting connections between the consumer or the member, the shopper, and the wine and the food pairing. And we can dig into that in a lot more detail for those of you that might be interested in really trying to drill into that and understand that more.
Excellent. And there's another question, switching back over to the wine. Is the sweetness in relation to the acidity? I work with German wines, and some of them are technically sweet, but the acidity makes them taste dry.
Oh, that's a fantastic question. So, and actually one of our customers makes quite a few Rieslings, and they've got this array of sweetnesses. And so what's the easiest way to answer that? So we can measure the residual sugar, we can measure the acidity, but when we look at the sweetness character of a wine, our AI is actually looking at the factors in the wine that ultimately contribute to the perception of sweetness. And it's been learning about this in the context, again, I think I mentioned literally of tens of thousands of wines that we've tasted. So it's actually very, very good at being able to detect what the perception of sweetness is for a wine, even though it might perhaps have what's measured at high residual sugar, but also very high acidity, and it does detect that and the balancing of those effects in the wine to present a very accurate view on an individual's palate of what the ultimate sweetness or what the ultimate character of that wine is.
That's very cool. John Taylor is asking what your current user base is.
Well, today we're working with about 150 wineries. And then we also work with, and we're not really talking about that today, but we also work with retailers. So this similar technology that you're looking at right here, we've applied very successfully in retail, grocery settings as well. And you know, happy to talk one-on-one with any of you about some of our customers and the types of results they're achieving.
And are you guys using your own lab?
We are. That's a great question. So we have a TTB certified lab, and our lab is based out of San Luis Obispo, California, right in the Central Coast.
That's fantastic. And if people want to know more about subscription costs and what the cost is to analyze each wine, where would they go to find that information?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question, and you know, we can just describe it a little bit here. So Tastry Uncorked is a subscription-based model, an annual subscription, and the price of Tastry Uncorked on an annual basis is $1,500 per year. There is some added cost depending on how many wines that you're onboarding onto your Uncorked account. And so we can give you a personalized quote if you follow up with us after the webinar. We're happy to do that. And we're also, I should probably mention, we've got promotional pricing that we're running through the summer, so we can talk more about that as well in one-on-one conversations.
And the $1,500 annual cost, how many wines does that include just at the beginner level?
Yeah, the $1,500 per year includes access to Uncorked and our Insights dashboard, and then the wine onboarding is an additional cost on top of that.
Erica, do you want to switch back to the screen showing the contact info just while we're doing it?
Sure, will do.
Great. Are there any other questions for the Tastry crew? Yeah, so if you did want a private meeting or to go more over any costs, you can contact Jeff and Rod right there or schedule a meeting with the QR code. And oh, you can probably hear my dog snoring in the background. Okay, well, if there are no more questions, I just want to give a big thanks to the Tastry crew for taking the time today to walk us all through this. If you are interested in attending more of our expert partner webinars with Commerce7, you can stay tuned by following us on social media. You can also email info@commerce7.com if you'd like to be added to our newsletter to stay in the loop of the next scheduled webinars. We will be following up with a recording of this talk by emailing it to all of you. But if you have any follow-up, you can contact Commerce7 or Tastry. And thanks everyone for coming today. And we hope you learned a little bit something about palate personalization.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Tessa.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Bye.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.